what I will talk about today is, without taking too much time, the horizon scanning activities. So I will begin putting horizon scanning into a kind of a broader foresight context. And then after that, I will try to describe the activity and the details, and we'll give some examples for that. And then we'll also try to communicate a few messages that we'll learn through this pandemic, COVID-19. So let me share my screen with you. So I have several slides to show, so I will fly through them fast, and I will share them with you afterwards also, so you will have a chance to read them in detail. So are you able to see my slides? I guess that is yes, hopefully. So as I said, I will talk about why we do horizon scanning and why it is important to identify trends, weak signals, wildcards, with all sorts of emerging risks and uncertainties we have in our lives. Especially these days actually explained humanity that all the kind of big uncertainties we face. So when we started the year 2020, everything was calm. And I started the year in Thailand also. So it was a great new year. And I myself also didn't expect that the rest of the year we would spend in isolation and in quarantine for so many months. And the quarantine continues in here as I speak. So all the work is going from home. Or otherwise, actually, if there wasn't anything extraordinary, I would have been delighted to be with you today, next to you and talk to you in person. So, as I said, I'll try to kind of put the horizon scanning concept into a broader foresight context. So we are actually very much concerned about the future. Especially these days. So we see that everything is uncertain and that there are great risks. And the pandemic showed us that this is not only a health issue, it's also at the same time a broad social, economic, and also political issue. And in this sort of environment, it becomes, of course, much more important to think about the future and to be prepared what is here and what is yet to come. And it's also important to innovate within this very complex and uncertain environment. So we, as usual, need to continue looking into our future and set our priorities because the priorities are fast changing, as you see. So we should be thinking about like future scenarios and alternative scenarios and build some visions for the future. And of course, all the time, think out of the box in an innovative way. And then, of course, these visions will need to be translated into some sort of evidence-based decisions and then policies and strategies. So we need to consider all these aspects when we think about the future and when we understand what those forces which shape our future. So that's why foresight activities are very valuable for us, because they are bringing a number of participants, a number of experts, and a number of topics together, and they help us actually to look into the future of the world in a kind of a systemic way to understand how all these different driving forces are shaping our future. And we gather future intelligence, and then we build some visions around them, and then we start acting from today. So we know that sometimes we act because we want to change this. Sometimes the environment actually dictates us that we need to act right now as we go through this COVID-19 period. The horizon scanning, as I said, is a part of a broader foresight process, which I represent with a 4-star model. So the 4-star model is formed around several eyes, as you see. So there's a star at the center, there are 7 eyes around it, and there's another eye in the middle of it. So the activity starts with initiation, which is about scoping and then preparatory work for a foresight exercise. Then we go to intelligence. Intelligence is actually understanding our context, our environment, which are shaping our future. So those driving forces, trends, wildcards and weak signals, and all sorts of discontinuities which may arise around this turn. So this is the phase of the foresight where we use horizon scanning and environmental scanning, and sometimes expert-based and sometimes a big data based. So there are more and more actually tools becoming available. So there are both qualitative and quantitative ways of understanding the dynamics of change in our environment. So today I will be speaking about this corner, the kind of a top right corner of the picture. But the story continues. So I'll come back to that point at the very end of my presentation again. So there are two forms of factors actually which shape our future. So horizon scanning and environmental scanning look at those factors which surround us. And in most cases, these factors are beyond our control. So it is very important to understand how they are changing and how they are shaping our lives. So for our decisions, for our policies, for our strategies, for example, at corporate levels, we need to understand these dynamics of change very well. So we can see why horizon scanning is necessary. So why should we look around? Why should we scan our environments continuously? First of all, this is a useful activity to generate ideas and identify some opportunities. And at the same time, of course, avoid some of the risks which are emerging. So this is like a radar. And then we continuously understand the transformations in our systems because, as I said, society, technology, environment, economy, politics, values, these are all very fluid in these days, and they change very fast. So we should continuously keep our eyes open in order to understand this change process. And within this change process, when we look at the environment, we identify what are the driving forces which are shaping this environment in the form of some trends. Trends like, for example, climate change, demographic change, and so on. So which are there, and then they are going to be present in the future too. There are also weak signals, which are the indicators of future and emerging trends. So they are actually telling us some messages. They give some signs of future trends. So with this kind of a new lifestyle, we see that some of the things probably will transform in our lives. So this is giving us some kind of signals how we will organize our economy in the future, how we will organize our education systems. For example, distant education may be a norm in many parts of the world if we are going to still continue fighting with the pandemic. So this helps you to gain confidence because you understand again the change occurring in your environment, and then you feel more confident and you can control actually by increasing awareness of what kind of opportunities and risks may emerge during this time. And you can be prepared by anticipating these developments before the others, so it may give you some competitive power too. And it also helps you to distinguish real trends and hypes. So there are so many hypes. In media, in social media, for example, you see a lot of messages coming from different sources, not always reliable. And then you will be able to distinguish what is a real trend and what is a hype. And it again helps you to prioritize some of the important industry and technology areas that you may investigate and invest in. And it also helps you to understand the leaders and collaborators in those environments. So when you look at the changes, you can see actually who is initiating this change. And at the same time, who is making something about it. or who are affected by that. So it may give you probably some information about the people you need to talk to, you need to cooperate, you need to work with, and then your future market. And then you will simply get ready for the future by making necessary political and strategic decisions. So you see, actually, horizon scanning is very critical for us in many ways to understand our changing world, changing planet, and also the changing universe with so many impacts to our globe. So you may see that there are different contexts surrounding us, and this can be some external context. So I distinguished in this figure two contexts, external and internal. So external context is the context which is surrounding us. So I represent this with an acronym called the STEEPV. Sometimes it's called STEEP, sometimes PASTEL, sometimes TIPSY, or whatever it is called. It is actually saying that our world consists of a combination of social, technological, economic, environmental, political, and value cultural systems. So this is just saying that actually our foresight, and we are ourselves located at the heart of all these systems, which are shaped by ways of life, technological progress, economic growth, pressures related to climate change, political views, parties, political stability or instability, and at the same time, again, the way we live our lives, demands for mobility, the way we transport, the way we plan our leisure times, culture, social relationships with our environments, with our friends and families, and so on. So this is the context of our intelligence, and there are a broad range of factors which may affect our decisions, not for long-term decisions, but also for short-term decisions. So I just want to give some examples of those trends. Some of them, these are called, for example, megatrends. So these are beyond our control, and they need the collective action. We definitely need to understand these dynamics. So we already feel like we have limited resources, and our planet is small, and the demand is growing. So we have, for example, less agricultural land to grow our food, but at the same time, more demand for food. We have less water resources available, but our demand for water will increase. And we will get to figures 1.5 times higher than today in the next decade to come. And then similarly, more energy. So we will be definitely operating under these limitations. And we need to understand this factor which will shape our environment, and as a result, our policies and strategies. And also there are a number of opportunities. We are actually at the process of a digital transformation, or in other words, digitalization. So we are having more information and more evidence, and we are using this information to inform our decisions more and more. So in the past, we were looking into a few books, for example, to collect information, but now we are using big data, and then we will use a lot more and different source of information in the years to come. Only last year, they created 90% of the world's data, and interconnection is increasing. So this is we see that there are some new technologies to access this information and data. And we see that actually we are not only wiring our tools and devices, we are also wiring brains and their computational units. So sometime in the future, in the near future, probably we won't use any devices to communicate with each other. So brain-to-brain communication systems are becoming more possible and more feasible in many ways. And also we have more and more integrated systems. We have interconnected devices. We talk about Internet of Things, and we are talking about now Internet of Everything systems, or in other words, human in the loop systems, which converge human and machine intelligence. The way we do innovation is changing. So we have actually the possibility to represent, to visualize our innovations and to live in them before they actually happen. So we can test different ideas. So there are all sorts of tools like artificial reality, virtual reality, augmented reality. So we can use these technologies to show our innovations and how they would actually work. We are talking about smart cities, smart transportation, driverless cars, and so on, and smart energy systems and renewables. And also our industrial systems are developing. We are using more and more robots, for example, and 3D printing and other technologies. And also we are going into a new system of social or interpersonal connection. So currently we are using social media, and this is bringing a new concept of a sharing economy, and technologies like blockchain will enable this sort of innovation. So why am I showing all these technologies in one picture? And new horizon scanning systems we are developing using big data. And this is the intelligence foresight analytics system we have been developing at our institute. So as you know, we use experts, and we like experts. We respect them, we trust their knowledge. But at the same time, we also know that data is creating us a lot of opportunities to do scanning and to gain all sorts of intelligence from those environments. And we use a number of different data sources. And this can be scientific articles, research grants, patents, reports from international organizations, or government reports, for example, or policy documents, documents from conferences, and we combine them with expert opinions. We get a wide range of intelligence by using this sort of horizon scanning activity. Looking at different reviews of industrial markets, for example, using big data, we could bring some market intelligence together and then understand the total volume of different markets, construction, aerospace, agriculture, in coming years. And there are a number of horizon scanning programs. Horizon scanning is important for everyone and well appreciated. So industrial organizations like European Commission, OECD, International Telecommunications Union, International Energy Agency, they all use horizon scanning programs. The same goes for national governments. The UK has a long-established horizon scanning program. Singapore, for example, is one of the countries in the region. They have a risk assessment and horizon scanning program. In the Netherlands, there has been horizon scanning programs, and Finland, Japan, Korea, and the US. So national governments are also very much interested. And similarly, other companies or other organizations like research funding body, National Science Foundation, does horizon scanning activities. IBM is engaged. Gartner has well-known horizon scanning activities. World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, has launched its technology trends study, for example. So horizon scanning has been well recognized by a number of organizations at different levels. And all sorts of globalization and other factors which we could see actually may accelerate the spread of this sort of pandemic. So it's very important to understand those two. And all sorts of unexpected consequences as a result. So pandemic is just the beginning. So there are a number of other agendas that we need to be aware of. Economic crisis, global and national security agenda, international migration, natural disasters, climate change. So we shouldn't be surprised or shocked when this crisis comes. So COVID-19 will be over, but there are some next waves to come. So many thanks for your patience. So I wish to conclude my presentation in here, and I'll be happy if you have any questions or comments.